Okay, so today we're going to be creating a mod, Backpack Containers, which is a Skyrim mod, and it's a pretty simple idea. The idea being that there's a different mod called Campfire, and it's a mod which gives you backpacks, among a whole bunch of other things, like tents and whatnot. And what we want is the character to be able to use that backpack as a container. So you can imagine walking around, you pick up, a million pounds of alchemy ingredients, and then you throw them in your backpack so that they don't clutter your, inventory and whatnot. So the basic idea or the basic mod implementation would be, a character, they get a backpack in their inventory. They then can press a button and place it on the ground, and suddenly it acts like a container. We update the weight, so you can't just carry an infinite amount of things. And then the character can press a button which picks back up. And in this particular implementation of the mod, I think I'm going to auto-equip it to the player so they can't just hide it in their inventory. They have to either wear it or have it on the ground. And okay, so to do this, in the creation kit, we're going to need to make a few things. We're going to need to make some static objects representing the backpack and the stuff on the outside, like axes and tents and whatnot. We're going to need a container for the stuff, and this actually needs to persist because if you get rid of a container, all of its stuff disappears afterwards. And we're going to make a couple quests. Now, if you've never worked with creation kit before, note that quest does not mean something that a character has to follow. It's literally just a way of like keeping track of things. And so these aren't going to be quests that the player follows. It's going to be things like, oh, you can open an MCM or something. Okay. Unless, maybe a message or two about, not having something or other. Oh, you don't have a backpack. You can't place it on the ground. Okay. So, to start, we are going to open the Skyrim creation kit. And there it is, everything in its glory. Okay. To start, we go up to File Data, Skyrim update. I've already unpacked everything from Campfire into, that's the wrong Skyrim file. It's still the wrong one. Okay, into the data directory. I've already unzipped Campfire, and so you can see that I have the ESM here. I've got things like the Campfire scripts. I've got things like the Campfire meshes and everything so that I can access them when I make this mod. So I'm going to go ahead and load that as well, and then that's it. Common thing with Creation Kit is they give you lots of warnings, and you almost always press yes to all. I tend to look out for any warnings that start with anything that I make, because they're frustrating to have warnings, but oftentimes they're pretty innocent. So I can just yes to all. Oh, and if you're watching on YouTube, one thing I like to do when I watch tutorials is there's actually a speed up button, so you can watch things at 2 times their normal speed. So if there's parts where this is loading or whatnot and it's boring you, or I'm moving too slowly, I highly recommend doing the 2 times speed. Okay, so when I make a mod, I try to do it in the simplest way that I can first. Like, oh, can I get a proof of concept out of there quickly? So let's just try to do that real quick. So we'll make a container. I actually just duplicated a knapsack the first time I did this. So we'll go ahead and do that. Duplicate. We'll change its name. We'll call it underscore BC for backpack containers. Underscore makes it easy to find. Underscore BC, and we'll call this backpack. And what is this? A container. When the player hovers their cursor over it, it'll be just called backpack. It's not going to respawn. That would be awful, because then all the player's stuff that they throw into it would possibly go away. We're going to remove all the items from it. You don't just get random gold when you buy a backpack. That would be cool, but that's not real. And this thing always pops up. It's like, oh, you just changed something. Do you want to make a new form? Which is nice, but I already did. So no, yes. Basically, you're always going to press no and yes. Okay, and remember to save often, because this thing will crash on you constantly, and better be prepared. Okay, backpack containers. If I type weird, it's because my hand is at an angle. Okay, so now I have a container. So the next thing you might think to do is you go, oh, well, then all I have to do is have the player like press a button, and how do I do that? So you would, as you could imagine, there's no object you can make, kind of, that will watch for a button. You're gonna have to a key down. So you're gonna have to make a script, and you're gonna need to attach that to your player. So to do that, we're going to do it in a slightly counterintuitive way, if you've never done this before. We're going to go to a quest. We're actually going to make a new quest. And the reason we do this, like I said before, is quests, they're not what you think they are. They're basically just ways of assembling logic in games. So you can do things like quest stages to say, oh, like they can do this when this happens, blah, blah, blah. So here, yet again, BC backpack containers. We'll call this player actions underscore quest. Player actions. This isn't really that necessary, but click OK first before you do anything. You'll notice a whole bunch of extra things pop up here, and I've been told that if you start clicking some other things, then you can crash the creation kit. Okay, so the way we attach the script to the player is not by going up to the player and like attaching a script, because that would be bad. What we're going to do instead is use what's called the quest alias, and this is just a way of like admiring the player from a distance, where you kind of like attach a script to them, but only through this proxy of a quest or whatever. So new reference alias, it's going to be the player, so we'll call it player alias. I think you might have to use one of these, but I forget. Specific reference, any cell. Oh look, it found the player reference. Hooray! Because I like to pathologically save, I close out, and then I reopen it. Okay, so now this might look pretty intimidating, but you like never use any of this stuff. At least none of this stuff I use that often. I've maybe used it once. This a couple times. It's actually good for finding matching references. So the only thing that you really use, or I've only ever used that often, is this chunk up here. Yeah, everything's still streaming great. Okay, cool. So these are just a whole bunch of flags. These are different types of things you can look for. We're not going to go into that. We're going to add a script. Cannot open that. Missing file? I don't think I care. So, yes to all. Okay, this pops up. And we're going to do new script. Okay, so this is the thing that watches for player actions, like if they press a key or whatnot. So I'm going to call it DC player actions script. Extends reference alias. We'll talk about that in a second. Okay, that attaches. And what you could do is right-click it and edit source from here, and then this should pop up and you can edit it. But because creation kit crashes so much, first off, save again. I like to open a separate editor. So I'm going to use Notepad++. It's awesome. You should use it too if you want. And we're going to open that file. If I can remember where it goes. Okay, here we go. So it's always in Skyrim, data, scripts, source, and there it is. Okay, hopefully that wasn't too loud. Okay, so when you first start scripting, one thing that's important to note is the thing which you extended. So you're writing a script, and it can have certain properties for you already. And this is really important to get familiar with. I'm opening something, so... Okay, so on the Creation Kit website, actually, let's go ahead and just, if you were Googling this, so you go Skyrim Creation Kit. You go, oh, cool, Creation Kit website. Oh, I'm doing Skyrim. Okay, so you can go through tutorials, that's awesome. We're going to go to a scripting reference. And there's all this junk here. The thing I like seeing is the Papyrus script objects. So this is nice documentation on the API that you're going to be using to communicate, or is it considered an API? I think it is. Maybe not. Whatever. The script objects you're going to be using to interface with Skyrim. So if you remember, what I just said is that it extends... Oh, it's not it. It extends reference alias. So what is a reference alias? A reference alias is this thing. Reference alias. So, oh shoot, that doesn't work for that. Okay. Well, anyway, it is this reference alias here, and it's got all of these functions that you can use. So you can clear an alias. That's a function that you can just call on some alias, and that will clear it from the quest that you just attached it to. So in here, I attached the player reference to the player alias, and so in my script I could just put clear, and then it would be gone. That would be kind of useless in this case, but it's not always useless. Okay, the important thing is to find all the functions that you can use to do all of your modding in the first place. So these are some, and if you read at the bottom, reference aliases receive events from the object reference they are pointing at. I'm going to go ahead and click that. Reference aliases may also receive additional events if they are pointing at an actor, which is exactly what it's pointing at right now. It's pointing at the player actor. So back to here, that's an object reference and an actor. They all stem from this form. So what does that all mean? So form has a bunch of functions and events that you can listen for. Object reference has a whole bunch of functions and events that you can listen for. So you're going to use all of these, and you're going to, like, pathologically start, reading this, or Googling, like, what do I want to do? I want to listen for a key event. How do I do that? And you get to use all of these in that script you just made. So in addition to all of or most of these up here, like game, is this the one we're going to be looking for? So I already know the function I'm looking for. I'm looking for one that registers for listening for a key event. So I'm going to look for key. Nope, that doesn't look right. Key. That's not a keyword I'm looking for. Register for key right there. Okay, cool. So what this does, let me drink some water. Is since this is on form and actors are inherited from object references are inherited from forms, I can use this in my script. So all I have to do is write that function, but I can't just input that just yet, because everything in the scripting is sort of initiated on events. So I cannot just write that. That's not going to fun. That's actually, it won't compile. So I'm going to oops, what am I doing? Event on init. Oops. And event. So when this first opens up in Skyrim, every single function in the entirety of Skyrim's Papyrus thing calls this on init. It just says, oh, when I wake up, do this. So when I wake up, register for the key, in this case 42, as it says on the website, is left shift. So you could do it that way. We're not going to, though. If I can open this. because I have my old, yeah, okay. Yeah, so I have my old scripts on the other screen here, which you can see here, just so you know what I'm looking at. There's a couple things that are going to do. So on a net, oh, it does register the key right then. Okay, cool. But it does other things like when you load a game, oh, go ahead and do some maintenance and check your version and blah, blah, blah. And we'll talk about that. But just know that I have that off to the side here. I'm going to use it as a little cheat sheet for me. Okay, so we want to maybe, yeah, I don't think I ever changed that. What on earth? Give me half a second to look into something. Oh, no, okay. Yes, I did. All right, everything's fine. Nothing's broken. Okay, we're going to do that slightly different, though. Okay, so we're going to go property. Oh, I didn't. Oh, yeah, I did. Okay. Cur key. Auto. Okay, so what did I just write? Okay, so what I just wrote, actually, let's finish this before I explain what I'm doing. Okay, what I just wrote is I'm going to make an integer, talk about that in a second, called cur key, and I'm going to register for that. That's just a number, just like you saw right here. And so the other term you saw here, this property, means that I have to interface that with the creation kit. Surprisingly, scripts and like the rest of the mod that you make don't directly communicate. They communicate through an interface, and that interface is these properties here. So the integer is going to be a little weird, but you're going to see where this becomes a lot more useful later. So let's go back to creation kit. I'll go edit source. Oh, look, the things I've been writing. So I'm going to save, and every time you save in the creation kit, it compiles for you. Okay, so now if I want to interface that script I just wrote with Skyrim, I can do it through properties. So you click that button, and this should pop up. What key do we want to put our mod onto? I think you can go here. Oh, I think I can save it. Anyway, I'm going to try to find the close bracket. I know there's some mods that use the pipe, or you know, the backslash, but I'm going to use the close bracket so I don't interfere with those mods. And we're going to put an MCM thing to change that later anyway. Okay. If I can find it. Semicolon, apostrophe. That's a backslash. There's a left shift. Oh, there it is. Okay, 27. Oh, I think I already had it at 27. Okay, whatever. Okay, so we can go ahead and edit this value. 27. So now when the player starts a game, the button that they're going to just be set at is the close bracket. Cool. Okay, so all that does so far is... Oh, I keep doing that. Register for the key, but that doesn't actually do anything, right? I told it, hey, listen for this key, and then it goes, okay, why? And so we're going to tell it why. We're going to go event on key down or something like that. Let's go back here. Yeah, register for key. They did a nice job with this documentation here. So if you go here, on key down, there it is. You can see exactly how to copy these by taking these examples here and using them for yourself. Okay. Event on key down and event. Okay, so it passes in a key code. We're going to check that key code. If that key code equals our current key that we like using to check for things, and if, oops, I always like to close my ifs and whiles and events and functions and everything first. Okay, so this actually isn't completely necessary, but we're going to do it anyway. If we decided to listen for several keys, this is when it becomes useful, because you're going to be listening to a couple different key codes. But for one, it's not necessary, but it's good coding practice. Okay. All right. So on key down, if it's the right key, what do? Oh, we put it on the ground. Well, there's an issue. I have a container, and if I just put the container on the ground, that's fine. Now I'll have an empty container, I can put stuff into it, but then I can't really pick it back up again. If I remove that container, which has been made what's called an object reference, if I remove that object reference, it gets deleted, and everything in it gets deleted, and that's a really bad idea to give your player that false hope. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to make a container that's placed elsewhere. Maybe it's invisible or something, I don't know. Or it's disabled, and then only when the key press is pressed is it going to move to the player and become visible again, so they can interact with it. And I've already tested this. This already persists through saves, and it doesn't seem to have too many issues. I have seen one issue where it just doesn't become visible, even though you can interact with it. But luckily, just going through a loading screen fixes that, so I'm not going to worry about it right now. Okay. So the first thing I need to do is put that in the world. And if I was silly, I would do that on the player action script. But I like to keep everything nice and organized, and that's not a player action. That's like a developer action. So let's go back into the creation kit, and we can either put it on this quest, the player actions quest, or we can make a new one. Is it more organized to put it here or elsewhere? Okay, no, I'm going to put it on the player actions, because there's going to be other things associated with that, like when you interact with that object, and that is sort of a player action. So I'm going to put it on here. So we're going to add another script. New script. PC. And every time I make these, this is just a personal habit. I like to name the script exactly what the quest is, minus the underscore, and then adding an underscore script. So player actions quest. Oops. Script. Oops. Underscore script. There we go. Notice this extends quest. So back to what I was talking about before. Save. That's what I was talking about before. Is this wonderful thing here. You go look for quest. You go, okay, quest. All it inherits from is form. So for this, and this is why we save often. So it closed. We'll reopen it. And now that's a new file, so we double click that, set it as active, call it good. Okay. So I'll go ahead and close all these except form. Technically we have game too, but I'm clicking the yes to alls over on my other screen. Just remember you do that. Okay, so we have all of these functions that we can use, all these events, and all of these SKSE functions. Ooh. We didn't use one of those yet, did we? No, I don't. Oh yeah, we totally did. The on key down was an SKSE function. This right here and this right here. So if someone doesn't install SKSE, they literally can't listen to key presses. This is why modders tend to use SKSE all the time, and it's like prerequisite for everything. Okay, so I like to make a note to myself, SKSE function. I have no idea what just happened. I think I just closed it. Wow, that's amazing. It's okay. We're just coding. I press backspace right at the wrong time or something. I don't know. SKSE function. SKSE event. I'm pressing yes to all on everything over here. Now if it'll ever open. Do. Okay, it's still loading. Okay, there it is. Okay. Oh yeah, I was showing you this. Okay, so, and you can tell what a SKC function is and what isn't. This was in the SKC member functions, the key down that we did, the register for the key. And also, it was the same for, oh yeah, right here, on key down. So, oh man, too many windows. Right, I just attached a script to my Quist, right there. That's right. Okay, now I remember what I'm doing. And we're gonna open that. Okay, so it extends Quest. We get all those functions event from Quest and from form. So, let me look at my cheat sheet real quick. Okay, so when I do this, I'm going to, yet again, do event on init and event. When the first time this runs, this is gonna run. And apparently a good practice is not to put a bulk of code in the on init. So we're gonna write a separate function, maintenance, defined here. Oops, if I know how to spell maintenance. It's really hard for me to type because I'm at like an angle. That's what they all say. Okay. And well, no, I should type everything line. Okay. So one thing I learned to do only a little later is to version my stuff. And likely it's really easy to do. At least it's easy to set up the groundwork to do it. So we're just going to do that real quick. So if f version, and I just picked this offline. So Googling is your friend. Oh yeah, I think I even like copied it directly from a website, because this is definitely not my style of writing here. Edit this value when updating. Some of these things, like some of the variables that you write, will persist even if you change the version, and some of them won't persist, like changing this one right here. So when you load a new game, or when you load a game that's already had this loaded, and you've changed something about the file, make sure that you put the updates and the changes in the right spot. Otherwise, the player won't actually see them and they won't work. F version equals 1.0, which is kind of useless right now, but again, it lays good groundwork. So what is F version? We need to define it. That's just going to be this variable up here that all functions can access. So I'm going to call that 0. I think that still works. Okay. So the first time this quest runs, it goes into this maintenance. It checks this version number, and eventually, what was I saying? Oh, am I doing? I'm like mixing C++ with, oh, whatever. I'll just believe them. Okay, sorry. Anyway, yeah. So when it runs the first time, it runs this maintenance. It does this version check, and then what? Right now, I don't think we really need to do anything. Oh yeah, no, we do. The whole point was I want to put this container in the world. I want to do that like the first time, and then I never want to delete it ever again. So we need to be able to interface this script with the creation kit, and I explicitly need to interface it with this container we made, this BC backpack container. So how do I, put this inside the script? Yet again, that's through properties. So what I can do is, what kind of object type was that? Well, that was a container. I'm gonna make it a property so I can interface it. BC, what did I call that? Backpack something? Oops. Backpack container? That would be smart. Yay, it was smart. Okay. Sometimes I'm smart. Except I think there's an underscore there. And then you write this auto word. Apparently there's some weird way of, like, the way it loads, you can modify. I just put auto all the time because I just want it to load. Again, I don't actually know the explicit details there, but yeah, underscore container. Okay, cool. Okay, so remember I was saying that when you write a script, it extends some sort of base something or other. In this case, it was quest, and quest, is extended from form. You can call other types of scripts from the corresponding object. So a container inherits all of the properties of a container, obviously. This actually ends up being pretty useless here, because if you look at the container, it's pretty funny. Oh, nothing. It doesn't have any properties or functions or anything. So that's kind of useless. But it can still do some things. It still gets all of the functions and events from form. So that's cool. Okie dokie. So I don't think we're going to be doing anything with that anyway, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so let's go ahead and make an object reference. Yeah, and okay, so now we're going to do something sophisticated. I'm going to place this, or not sophisticated, but whatever. I'm going to place this container in the world. That changes it from being a class to an actual object, right? And in this case, called an object reference. And I want to be able to reference that specific instance of that class. So object reference. What should I call it? Property. Property, yet again, I can interface between the creation kit, and actually the properties can interface between separate scripts too. We'll call this player backpack container auto. Okay. Okay, so when I run this maintenance, ooh, am I gonna check that for the first time? Yeah, so, oh, yeah, right. So if I don't have this object reference yet, that is, if nothing's been put into it, always close it, we're gonna make it. So player backpack container equals, and I forget the syntax here. Oh yeah, let's do that. Yeah, so how do I put it in the world? Well, it's kind of weird. The way that I do it is I look for an actor, in this case a player, and I just place it at their feet. So I need yet another property. Actor, property, player ref, auto. Oh, notice, by the way, that I'm naming these things that are specifically the same in the creation kit. You're going to see why here in a second, but basically a lot of these forms will just fill themselves out when that happens. So, okay. Make sure I don't have any comments. Yep, no comments. Okay. If anyone's watching, feel free to write in the chat room if you have any questions or if I'm boring you or whatnot. Okay, so now I have a player. The player is an actor, and I promise I'll quit doing this, but I just want to show you how easy it is to figure out what you can do. I'm just going to open this up to show you. So yet again, we have an actor. There's a function called... oh no, it must be an object reference. So actors get their, or they inherit from object references. So object references, there it is, place at me. So you can make an object reference using this place at me given any form. Everything's a form basically, and how many you want to place at you. So we'll use that syntax. Actually, let's open it up so you can see it. object reference, place at me, blah, blah, blah. So here's an example. New box, or this one's more similar to the one I'm about to do. So place at me, something that we're not going to do it that way. That wasn't very instructive. Whatever. Let's do it my way. Add item. We're going to place we're going to instantiate, oh, not that one, this one. This guy. And you can put a comma 1, but that's actually already the default. So if you don't write anything, it just defaults to 1 in the first place. Oh, interesting. Oh, cool. Okay, there's 2 ways of doing this. I can either, for this other argument, I could write it like this. I could do 1, and then I could write true, and then true. So what that would do is it would make 1. It would make it persist. I thought it did that anyway, but whatever, I guess apparently not. So we're going to force it to persist. And it's initially going to be disabled. If you just want to see some other syntax, though, if you're just wanting to see other things, and you only cared about, like, say, the disabling, you could use that explicit phrase there. And skip the rest of those arguments. So you can write that this explicit phrase would be used just to verify that that's the case. We'll go to quest, player actions quest, and we will compile it, except I have an issue. And of course, I did not do that correctly. Why did that not work? Maybe match rotation. Maybe initially disabled. Did I get the wrong word? Function place at me. This is place at me, right? Oh no, I'm at it. Silly me. Okay. Sorry. There we go. See, aren't we? Oops. Aren't we glad we checked? Okay, so that compiles. So you can do that. I'm not going to do that just for the sake of clarity here, but sometimes that's actually much nicer and easier to read. So I'm just going to do 1 true, true. Okay, so now that places a container in the world, and it's a property, so I can access it in other scripts, and I can access it in the creation kit. Okay, what time do we have here? So half an hour or so. Okay. Cool. So what else do I want to do with that? I've disabled it to start with. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm checking my cheat sheet right now. This is just something you would want to test. I remember I took this and I opened this container out in the wild and everything was wonderful. And then I took it into a building, like Sven's building in Riverwood or something. And I tried to put something in it and I was like, wait, I'm stealing from it. So we need to set the actor owner of this thing. So the way you do that is your object reference probably has something that allows you to change ownership. So set actor owner is a function, and it works like this. So the object reference, set actor owner, and then whoever that actor is, you want it to be owner. So player backpack container dot set actor owner ref. If you were to compile this, it would actually fail, and you might go, wait, no, I was doing everything right. Notice it's looking for an actor base, not an actor. Actor base. Two separate things. But there is a way of casting, I think, an actor to an actor base. Yeah, okay. Okay, so dot get actor. Oops, that's not in the right spot. There we go. Okay, that should work right there. So now it's going to say, oh, this backpack's yours. You're not stealing from Sven. And we'll go ahead and save that, which compiles it. Now here's what I was talking about with the auto property thing and why we name them what we name them. Except I was pasting, wasn't I? Oh no, I wasn't. Okay, everything's fine. Nothing's broken. So this, in this at least, already names. We can autofill them, and because we called them the right names, it just gives them their values. And this, we're going to just instantiate into nothing. That way, when you load the game for the first time, it makes the container for you. Okay, so now we're almost done. Let's listen for a key press, as we've done. And if we have the key press, let's make that backpack turn on and move to us. One thing that's also a good idea when you make mods is to test them frequently. So all we're going to do here is, oh, and you might wonder, how do I actually get this backpack container in this other script here? Well, the way you're going to do that, this way I like doing it, is you're going to import, or you're going to interface with the quest, not the script, the quest that this thing's attached to, which in this case is BC player actions quest. And we always write the word auto. And then we're going to cast it as this script here. So okay, so player actions quest as the script, and so what that does basically what you think it does. It just says, oh, inside of this quest, go ahead and look for this script. Okay, so now I have the script. Now I can access its properties. So now I can grab that property into this world here. Cool. So that's just an object reference right now. So now we need to place it at the player. So we'll say, does this have a player ref? No. Okay, we need to instantiate a player ref. For whatever reason, I like to organize these a certain way. So, okay, actor, property, player ref, auto. Okay, cool. Player ref dot place at no. What do we do instead? There's no, that's the right one, right? Because this one oh shoot, I'm gonna have to consult my cheat sheet. There's one to just move it to you. I think it's just move to player. Actually, okay, let's not use our cheat sheet. Let's problem solve together. Okay, is it move to? No. Oh, object. No. It is. Yeah, at this point, I would Google, but instead, I'm going to use my cheat sheet. Okay, so. That was much smarter. No, it is move to. Oh, right, it's object reference, not the... Okay, yeah, so the reason we couldn't find it is... move to is an object, so I'm going to move the object reference, obviously not the player. So, in here, we can... this is the right one. No, this is the right one. Yeah. Why am I doing that? We'll call this container. No, let's give it a real name. Here's another thing to think about, and it's something I'm thinking about right now. Sorry if I get silent. I'm thinking about more optimal ways of doing certain things. What is going to be the most efficient coding? And you might go, oh, well, you could put like an object reference up here, and then all your different functions could use it. Oh, that'd be great. Everything that's put up here is persistent in a save. I think even if you delete the mod from a person's game, or if you install this and you're like, oh, I don't like this, I'm gonna get rid of it. All of these things persist in memory, so they just kind of add to your file. Not that much, but a little bit. But if you create something in here, like say container equals that, as soon as this function, or this event, I guess, is done calling, it removes that from memory. So that's a really efficient way of using memory. I think technically it has to dynamically allocate that, so then there's a trade-off on like, oh, does that slow it down? The answer is basically no. But if you did that like a billion times, obviously it would. So the other thing is, can I do even more? I mean, the answer is yes, but do I want to do even more and just do directly from here, move to the function? So I don't even have to, I think, move it into a certain piece of memory, or like allocate an extra piece of memory. Maybe not. I don't remember the exact details, which is what I was thinking about. The downside of that is obviously your code's not as readable. So since it's not going to take much memory, let's go ahead and make it a little more readable. So I'll do object reference temp container equals that. And I'll end up changing this later, but we're just testing it out right now. Is backpack player backpack container, and that we're going to use as temp container dot move to. Okay, the target. Well, the target is going to be the player ref. X offset, Y offset, Z offset. I think when I did this, I wanted to always place it in front of the player, but we're not going to worry about that just yet. We just want to put it there. Tempt container. Silly goose. That's why I'm named Business Goose. What am I doing? Oh, right. The last thing I want to do is, I had initially disabled it. So now I want to be able to enable it. Enable. I know that that's an effect, or I know that that's a function, and you can see it right here. Oh, we can make it fade in if we want, but we're not going to. It's just going to pop into and out of existence, because why not? Okay, one thing before we test this is right now, it's disabled. We move it to us, it's enabled. Obviously, we haven't disabled it again, so now it's going to just persist there forever. So what we're going to do is we're going to have this persistent bool, which is backpack out. Ooh, and if I was smarter, I'd be consistent with my case, but we'll deal with that later. Equals false. Okay, so when you start the game, this is going to be false. It's going to say, oh, your backpack's not out. And the reason why is, it's disabled. As soon as we press the key, we want it to then be enabled. So then backpack out equals equals true. Now, I want to be able to check. So if the backpack wasn't out, go ahead and do all this. Else, do sort of the opposite here. So now, actually, what I really want to do is this. Disable. Yet another function I know exists. And you can almost see it. Yep, right there. Okay. All right, now we're ready to test this. First, we want to compile the function. Yay, it compiled correctly. Properties. We haven't added any, that's good. And this is yet another weird thing. Technically, I didn't need to save it because all I did was scripting. And again, scripting and your ESP are separate things. But okay, whatever. Let's go ahead and desktop. My mod organizer is opening right now. Whoa. Oh, that was weird. Okay, everything's fine. Nothing's broken. Okay, cool. So here it is. I like to make a little creation kit tester, and all they have in terms of mods that are installed is obviously while I'm trying to test Campfire. I leave those on even though they're not that optimal. SkyUI and SKC, obviously, right there. My EMB and alternate start. Beyond that, we need to turn on our backpack containers and start. Oh, is this going to start on the wrong screen? I bet it is. So let me move this halfway in between them. Okay. Yeah, so that's the wrong screen. Welcome to the crazy screen. I need to... Oh yeah. There we go. Do you see what I see? This is why I don't sing. Okie dokie. And another trick I learned from Mr. Chesko, watching his weapon scroll wheel thing, is to just press that and then immediately COC into a cell, making alternate start not actually that necessary, but I still leave it in, why not? Okay, so here I am. Nothing's weird or different about the world. It's a beautiful sunrise. Wait, why do I have two? Oh, Campfire, right. Okay, now if I press the button, nothing's happening. Perfect, good. That actually doesn't bother me, because part of this should be teaching you how to troubleshoot problems. Okay. Whoa, okay. Okay, so what we can do to debug this, to figure out where we're going wrong, is go back to our thing. Yes. And start putting in like notifications or traces, which we can then see in-game, like if a certain thing is working. So for instance, maybe, I don't know, on a net, register the key down. Who knows, maybe I have the wrong key, or maybe this starts off weird. No, that should work. Maintenance, if there is no black. Oh, maybe there's something already in there. Clear it up, place it. The backpack container. Disabled. Set actor under me. Huh. checking my cheat sheet here. Move to enable. Oh, weird. No, that's not weird. Okay. Clear off the distance, the distance, and false. Okay, well, I guess let's just start putting things. The way to put notifications in game is debug dot notification. Maintenance is running. So that in game, as soon as this function runs, it'll show up in your like upper left screen. Okie dokie. What next? I'll put another one here. There is no container yet. Okay. Oh, this is a good one to put something in. Debug.notification. You pressed the right key. And debug.notification. Backpack is not out. Oh, you know one thing I didn't do correctly, now that I'm looking at it, is I only did this once. As soon as, it's always true now. I don't think this is what screwed us over, but we need to turn this, yes, false again, right? Okay, if the backpack is not out, it's now out, and I enable it. So if the backpack is not out, well, it is out, so that returns false because we're here. This goes false, so this will be true later, and then it disables that. Okay, that might not have been a problem. That might have been a problem. I don't know. One thing I'm also wondering is if this doesn't work the way I think it does, and we should just disable it ourselves. But let's try this first. Okay, so let's go compile all these. You can just go up here, Pepper Script Manager. You'll see these, and then you can just compile them from there. Oh, and it failed. Why did it fail? Temp container is undefined. Am I crazy? Oh, yes, I am. Or no, I mean, I kind of am. I don't like that syntax at all, but whatever. We'll define it out there, and it's still in the function, so everything's great. Oh, maybe I didn't compile it before. That would do it. I thought I did, but maybe I only compiled one of the functions, or one of the scripts. I'll have to go back and look at my video to see. Okay, now those are compiled. Notice, yet again, I don't need to save that. Here, someone who has this, it's just like Campfire making some data. If you just right-click this, create mod, and say like, oh, Frostfall, or you can see I played Skyrim before Campfire and Frostfall split up. It used to all just be Frostfall. Campfire scripts. Make sure you enable it. Now it won't bug you. I think. By I think, I mean there might be some other mods that do it next. Oh, I need to show you the right screen. You don't see that. I said display 1. Did this already display one? Am I crazy? Oh yeah, there we go. Cool. Cool. Anything at our feet? Okay, there is no container yet, and the maintenance is running. That's good. You'll notice a lot of modders actually use debug.trace, .trace, by the way. I don't exactly know why. There's probably a reason, but I don't know it, so I tend to still just use notifications. Okay, so let's press the button. Oh, I pressed the right key, and the backpack is not out, yet magically, it's still not at my feet. Maybe it is being placed below the ground. Let's find out. Oh, I have no idea what's going on. Whoa. Okay. There we go. I don't see it. Weird. Okay, so everything seems to be mostly functioning so far, except no actual knapsack. I guess one thing I should check is that the knapsack works the way I think it does. Okay, let's press the key again and see what happens. I pressed the right key, and the backpack must have been out, because it didn't show the other one. Okay, and it's toggling correctly. That's good. And yet, nothing at my feet. Okay. Ah, there's my cheat sheet again. I really need to make that. How do I do that? Okay, whatever. I'll try to edit this part out or something. Okay. Back to this. Oh, look, I still have 3 viewers. That's cool. Okie dokie. Alright, so we're troubleshooting. Why it's not showing up. Okay. So, I've got my player backpack container, which has been set as a property. Oh, did we set the other properties? Ah, that might be an issue. Oh, I already compiled that, so. Ah, we did not. Okay. So that would do it. Oh, you know what? That's probably why people like doing traces. Because, actually, I'll show you. So let's go and autofill those real quick. If we had a debug trace, we would have seen that. Today I have learned something. Okay. Is it in here? No. I always forget where these traces are. Yeah, there it is. Okay, cool. You can't see what I see, but in my games, so this is not where the normal data file is. You go into my games, and then you go, Skyrim, and you go into logs, script. If you've set the right settings in your ini, oops, not that. Particularly, technically, I think you only need 3 of these, but go ahead and put all 4, like the b-enable logging, b-enable trace, b-load debug information, and b-enable profiling all to 1. Save it. You'll then get these papras 0, 1, 2, 3. And you'll always have 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, and they sort of rotate throughout. So if I start Skyrim again, papras 0 then becomes papras 1, and then by the time it gets to 3, it then just deletes itself. So the one that I just played is right there. We'll open it. Yeah, whatever, sure. Hooray! And I bet we're going to have a warning about certain things not loading correctly. So I'm going to find next. Oh, look at this. Error, cannot call move to on a none function, or none object, aborting function call. All these different things where I'm trying to like bring it to me. It's like, I don't know what that is. Leave me alone. So we aren't going to leave it alone, and we're going to pester it some more. Just make sure that's saved. Now that's been filled, Now, let's try this again. And, man, I really wish... Oh, you know what I can do? Do I want to do that? You know what I could just do is move everything over here. Yeah, let's just do that. Okay. Just reorganizing everything so I don't have to switch back and forth between all these windows. That's already go there. There's a way of switching Skyrim to go on the other one by setting your main window, but I don't know it offhand. Okay. Cool. There we go. Everything's wonderful now. Okay, let's start again. Okay, maintenance is running. There's no container yet. Here I am, and whoa, something's really laggy. I guess I am recording my video to file and streaming, so maybe that makes sense. Okay. Yay, there it is. Backpack is not out. So now it's out. And now I can put something in it, like daggers. I have my backpack. Now, I can make it maybe disappear. Although it decided not to. Yeah, so apparently my disappearing act is not working. Although the moving totally does. That's cool. It's funny, I feel so embarrassed having this frame rate. Okay, anyway. Whoa, that's so weird. Sorry, anyway. Okay, so it's not disabling it correctly, but that's okay. We'll figure that out. So player actions, disable's not working. Oh, maybe it's because, yeah, okay. So, something that I was doing which was very silly. So I told you it was like, oh, this deletes this object reference once this event is done being called. Well, I can't exactly disable something that was deleted. And if I look, oh, I closed my logging, my trace logging. But if I looked in there, I bet it'd be like, I can't disable a none object. So instead, oh, do we want to put the object reference in here or here? Where does it make more sense? Player actions? No, I think it makes more sense here. Okay. So we're gonna write uglier code instead. We could do something else too, but we're just gonna do this. I don't think this is the way I did it previously, but that's okay. So yet again, design choices. I am casting twice. I cast the quest to a script and then find that property, and then I do it again, which is not very efficient. So shoot, how do I want to do this? Oh, and I can get rid of these because now I know everything is basically working fine, and I can get rid of that. Backpack count is false. Let's go ahead and put this here first. Okay, that would almost certainly work. Let's figure out how we want to do those, though. Oh, that was much more smart. Okay, so I just looked at my cheat sheet. What I did is I really did change the player action script to be just the player actions. So, you know, moving this this backpack here and, you know, enabling it and disabling it isn't really a player action. So what I did instead is I went back to this quest where this is an actual object. Oh, and we can delete these. And I started writing functions, which are going to really help us. So I'm going to follow my naming convention here. Set backpack down and function. Oops. Function. If I could ever type. Pick backpack up. Okay, and when this key was pressed, all I did, I'm going to move this here, but I'm going to remember that the syntax is incorrect because I don't need to cast anything. All I did was those, and then I should get that cast again though. I said, oh, you know, get that function, and then set backpack down. So when you press the button, set it down, unless it's already out, in which case, pick it up. And then here, we don't need to do any of that. Okay. That should work now. Kind of ugly, but it's not that ugly. Let's go ahead and make sure that works, since I actually did drastically alter a few things there. Oh, yeah, see? There we go. Loop did not match anything. Oh, I bet I put an end instead of an end function or endif or something. 2259 in player actions. Player actions. 22 endif. That's what went wrong. Cool. There we go. Okay, now go back here and test. Okay, so here I am. There's my knapsack. And now it's gone. There it is again. Now it's gone. There it is again. Cool. That is working as intended. Oh yeah, and I think I started doing this before, but then got sidetracked, which I often do. Let's put those in there. Why not? Hooray! There they are. Now it's persistent. Now I can pick it up, put it down. Obviously I didn't delete anything, so of course it's still there. More importantly, I can save. And when I load, is still there. Technically, that's not the best way of testing that. The best way of testing that would be to go into a different cell. Oh man, that is just so snappy.
I trust you're not planning any trouble. What can I do?
Kind of a headache to watch. Okay. I swear it runs at 60 FPS all the time. Oh, what am I doing? So we save. And then we can load here to double check that everything's fine. The idea being that when you do those soft reloads, some things in cells don't reset. So you could fool yourself into thinking that you did everything correctly, even if you didn't. And load in here, so it's a different cell, and make sure that it persisted outside. I already tested this, so I actually know this is already the case, but this is something you should do if you're making your own mod. I almost had a heart attack there, like, it's gone. There it is. Okay, cool. All right. Okie dokie. So that is the important part of the mod. In some sense, you could just kind of release that, and people would have a, well, it'd be kind of crap, but people would at least have a way of like holding their items in a separate container. Cool. So now we want to only do that when the character gets a backpack. And don't worry about the model. I know it's a knapsack right now, but we're gonna change that soon into being stuff from Campfire. So now, where do I think we'd want to put something that checks for if you have a backpack in your inventory? Well, where do I think we should put that? Oh, importantly, no. I guess we'd want to check right here, not only if the backpack is out, but if you had one in the first place. Here. So if the backpack is not out, and I'm just going to write in pseudocode here, and you have one, go ahead and do those things. And then here, you're going to go, oh, when you pick it up, add the backpack to your inventory. Okay. So first thing we want to do is check if you have that object in your inventory. So how do I do that? I'm looking for an actor. Actors have inventories. So I'm going to guess. Oh, I moved this over here. That's right. I'm going to guess it's in here. Like has. No, I want to say it was something different than has item. Get item amount, I want to say, something like that. Or get, maybe, oh, maybe, I don't remember. I do this all the time. I just sit here and I start like reading through this to see if what I think is true is true. Yeah, I want to say it's like get. Maybe all object references have? No. Oh yeah, it is. Okay, so apparently all object references have containers or something. Cool. Okay, so get item count, and then you just input. Oh, by the way, I don't think I mentioned before. So when it says form, aka item, sometimes it requires an actual like form type, and sometimes it can be anything that was instantiated from a form. So in this case, get amount is you just put in any type here that was instantiated or is inherited from a form. So everything basically. I guess integers bools aren't inherited. Anyway, so you have one. So we're gonna say player ref dot get item count of. Oh, it's not in here, right? That makes sense. Okay, so back in here, we want to check that the player has the armor backpack. Oh, right. Oh, yeah, there's like a billion of them. Right. Okay. I totally forgot about that. Yeah. Maybe I should do this as an array. And like check for every single one. Yeah, let's do it as an array. Okay. Not a problem. I think it's still relatively fast. So we're going to call this something different. We're going to call it armor property. Oh, and I need to turn that into array, but I'll do that in a sec. All backpacks auto. And I think I just do that. And now it's an array. If this weren't a property, we'd then have to initialize it at some point. We're like telling it how many of these properties that we're going to need and blah, blah. But in here, first let's go ahead and compile it. Except I don't know how to script, I think. Oh, I think I have to cast it as form. Right. I'm silly. Okay, so I was lying to you when and that's not even a proper if statement in the first place. As form. I think you have to do that. So, you know. Oh, and I didn't even put the thing. Right. I don't even know what I'm doing. Okay, give me a sec. This is pseudocode. Oh, man. That's silly. If you want to write a comment, just put a semicolon. Okay, now will you compile for me? Yes. Victory for me. Okay. PC player, that one. Right? This one? Yes, this one. Okay, perfect. So now you'll see this all backpacks default. Let's go ahead and edit. We'll go ahead and add one. Black backpack. We'll add one. Black with Hackintosh. Add one. And we'll just do this for a little while. Go make some tea or something. Actually, that sounds kind of like a good idea. Oops, I just put like Mara 3 times. I am not paying attention. Remove. Hooray! 1/3 done. Round ones. Oh, how do I want to do this? So what I'm thinking about right now is yeah, that's how I'll do it. Okay, what I was thinking about, and I think everything's fine, and I think I'm going to keep going. I'll do that while I talk. Is I'm going to need to know exactly which backpack is which eventually, right? So it's maybe oh man, maybe I can't do 2 things at once. So not only should I get like, oh, does the player have any of these? But maybe I should return that index. And then when I make all the static objects, which are going to represent the backpacks when they're set down, I should use the exact same ordering. And then I can just use that index there to place the right one down. If you don't know what I mean, you'll see. If I'm smart, on YouTube, I will just like fast forward through this part, or just like skip it because it's boring. Stendar. Or we will drag you to it. Towards it? Something like that. Zenithar. White. And this is when Creation Kit like decides that I'm gonna crash. As a matter of fact, I'm so paranoid that I'm just gonna stop right now and save. Because that would be so boring, especially in a live stream. Okay, where am I? White Debella. Blue Eyes White Dragon. Leonos. Right there. Kinnereth. Mara. Almost there. Stendar. Talos. Hooray! We're almost there. Almost there. Hooray! Okay. Alright, is anyone even still watching? Nope. Yeah, that makes sense. I don't blame you. Because of that, I am going to take a mini break.